What a weekend. What a responsibility I have on my shoulders right now to disseminate to you all the things that were discussed. All right, here goes. I looked on my bedside table last night, and there was a little book. I've got lots of little books all around. Ty will tell you, I've also got lots of eyeglasses all over the house. And I'm constantly writing, whatever comes. I'm just writing and writing and writing and jotting down. And I opened one, and it came to a notation that I wrote that said, shame is a waste of time. Are we in agreement with that? Anybody want to debate that? Talk about it? Shame is a waste of time. Attachment is weakening. Very, very much in harmony with what Bill said. Attachment is weakening. And everything that you yearn and hunger for rests within the breath of your own personal permission. Everything that you yearn and hunger for rests within the breath of your own personal permission. When I think about that, it's in perfect alignment with the number one standard, or the number one foundation of our science of mind teaching, which is that God is everything. Order is everything. And then you and I go upon a journey of discovery for ourselves where we have to figure out what that means. What that means for me, what that means for you. Because we've all got stuff around the word God. Last week we had Steve Nygren here, who was the founder of Serenbe, and then we had our board retreat there as well over the weekend. And I went to lunch with them last week, and I said, so, what'd you think? And he went, fascinating. That's like somebody saying, interesting. So he said, fascinating. I said, go on. And he said, well, he goes, there's such vibrancy, there's such enthusiasm, there's so much energy there. And he goes, it's obvious from what it is that the principles that you are based upon, those are very different than the religiosity that most of us were born in. So in other words, all of you had to have gone on a migration. You had to have gone church hopping and shopping and God hopping and shopping in order to find something that spoke to you. And he said, what's fascinating to me, and he says, it's not a negative comment, it's that you've done that, you've migrated, and yet what you've done is you've packaged it in the same package from what you came from. In other words, we do church. You know, we have a format, and we offer these things. And he said it would be really interesting to know where everybody is in their wounding. Because where everybody is in their wounding then predicates what it is that you hear, and the way in which you hear it, and the way in which you decipher it, and then ultimately the way in which you embody it. And so everybody, of course, is operating at their own time and in their own space. So some of you have long since shed any wounding that you might have around the term God, because you get that God isn't a shaming God. God isn't a punishing God, that God isn't actually a man in a flowing white thing like the dance ministry up there, like the ultimate Santa Claus, writing down what you have and haven't done and casting judgment. That what it is, it's life itself. It's energy. It's immeasurable. It's joy times immeasurability. It's life times immeasurability. And that it's all. And so we are a part of that. So we are these embodiments of God. We are God beings, having our experience to the best of our ability. And so depending upon where you are with that, of course, is going to dictate the way in which you hear what you hear. And that's what I ultimately love about this, because wouldn't it be great to take everything that you love from then and bring it to the present day without the wounding? To bring everything that you love about your migration, everything that worked for you, the beauty, the music, the camaraderie, the the companionship, the community, that you're able to bring that, but then you're able to uphold it in a far more healthier way than we were, say, before we were walking in shame. And so that leads me to think about these teachings, and not just science of mind, but any kind of metaphysical teaching which tells you that you are the responsible one for the quality of your life. Not very popular sometimes, right? And here's what I see happen. We go upon this journey, we hear that. So somebody says to you, whether it's a motivational speaker, or it's a book, or it's the 7 steps to eternal happiness, whatever they might be, and you hear these things, and so something gets ignited inside of you. And what I think gets ignited inside of you is hope. And hope's a good thing, but you don't want to stay in hope, right? You want to move to manifestation. But we're igniting something within us that is hope-based, and we start to see the world having possibility. And so what happens then is a lot of us stay in that, and we live from here up. And so, you know chakras? You know, some of us call them chakras. Some of us call them chakakanaras, whatever you want to call them. But what are they? What is that? What's that crazy stuff? What's energy, right? It's energy systems. It's life force. And I think most of us would agree on the fact that there must be a system of life force running through our body, right? And so that they say that the lower 3 chakras, or the earth-based chakras, they're all the things that dictate the quality of the experience that we're having as human beings. So what does that mean? That means in these lower-based chakras, that's where your emotions and your feelings are. That's where you deal with your issues of sexuality, where you deal with your finances, where you deal with relationships, where you deal with all of the things that root you in this earthly experience. And then from here up, what do you think it is? It's all the stuff that has to do with opening your heart. Everything that you find that actually transcends the earth-based issues. This is the way how we learn to communicate, how we learn to be more loving, how we get to this idea that God is all in. Oh my God, that includes me. You know, so our third eye observation opens up, and our crown chakra opens up, and all of a sudden we have this amazing field of possibility and love that we haven't had before because we've been so down here, right? Because this is what we learned. And so the question then becomes, which one is better? And the answer, if you want an A from the teacher, the answer is both. And this is what happens, is one gets bypassed over the other. So think about it. Haven't you ever, they say never meet your heroes. Never meet that author whose book changed your life. You know, because what you think is they're all from here up. And sometimes they are. And what does that mean if a person is from here up? That means they have neglected a lot about themselves that has to do with their personal emotions and feelings and their overall general health. You ever seen somebody get up and talk about empowerment, and you look at them and you go, oh my. And we say, don't judge, don't judge. And you're like, well, I can't help but judge. I don't do that, of course, but and then some people get so lost in this newfound spirituality that they say they're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. And what I think would be revolutionary is if you and I took responsibility for all of it. So to me, the word that comes up with that is integration. That we so own and so value the entirety of all of the energy systems that make up who we are, that one is not better than the other. That they're all dependent upon one another, in order to operate optimally. So anything that's even intuitive, a third eye, anything that has to do with our heart is also equally combined with allowing ourselves to feel what it is that we need to feel rather than doing spiritual bypass. That's what this is. If I'm going to neglect this, I'm just going to bypass all of my feelings. And how healthy is that in the long run? It's not. And so then what happens is we're just giving lip service to the entirety of this experience rather than feeling all of it, owning all of it. But here's the beautiful part. As you're feeling all of it, now you are aware between the difference of fact and truth. So as we deal with earthly-based things, as you look at your diagnosis, as you look at the dissolvement of your relationship, as you look at all of the things that hurt your heart, as you look at all of those things, you don't become paralyzed by them. Because even though that might appear to be a fact in this moment, facts do what? They change. And they change dependent upon our level of awareness and consciousness. So that means that I can walk through the valley of the shadow of death. In fact, I should walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So that as I'm doing that, I actually understand what light means. That I can actually be a better teacher, knowing that I haven't avoided this, that I have embraced this. I have embraced my humanity so that my divinity can shine even brighter. That, and you think about the integration of that, then we become compelled to a life of holistic living. So I love teaching the philosophy of Thomas Troward. It's one of my classes that I repeat every year. The reason why I teach this class is because Thomas Troward was very influential to the founder of the science of mind, which was Ernest Holmes. And Thomas Troward is very clear, and he's always talking about how our humanity is dualistic in nature. You've got your idealist and you've got your realist. Realist would be what part? Down here. The root-based chakra. You've got your idealist, which would be what? Up here. And so he says the error then of the extreme idealist, from here up, the error of the extreme idealist is endeavoring to realize the absolute without the relative. And the error of the extreme materialist, from here down, is in endeavoring to realize the relative without the absolute. On the one side, the mistake is in trying to realize an inside without an outside. And on the other, in trying to realize an outside without an inside. Both are necessary to the formation of a substantial entity. And so, I would say that I've made a lot of mistakes. I would say that some of us in leadership here have made mistakes in trying to distinguish between these two. I think sometimes when you love people so much, you want to protect them. And then in the protection of that, you don't really... Thank you, Jesus. In the protection of that, you don't communicate very well. You don't communicate very well. And so it reminded me of that janitor who was just, God, he was just so frustrated because he would go in to clean the girls' bathroom and there would be lipstick marks on the mirror constantly. And he would clean the lipstick mirror off and he would go tell the principal. And the principal would make an announcement with the girls, please stop kissing the mirror in the girls' bathroom. And the girls would still put the lipstick on and they would go to the mirror and and the janitor would clean the mirrors and he would go and he would complain to the principal. And on it went and nothing was changing. Until finally, the principal just invited all of the girls into the girls' restroom and he brought the janitor in. And he said, we've asked you repeatedly, mirror, will you please clean the mirror? At which time the janitor took the squeegee, dipped it in the toilet, and cleaned the mirror. Problem solved. Kissing the mirror stopped. So we've been kind of like those girls with the lipstick. Just kissing, 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 kissing. And then going up and really having to deal with the earth-based realities and trying to clean those up like toilet water. Case in point. At the end of the year, we said we need $200,000. We need $200,000. And so we thought of ideas, and we thought of ideas. Oh my God, how do we do this? How do we do this? And we came up with the holiday ornament thing. And so everybody could buy an ornament. And so some of you bought ornaments, and we hung them up, and we wrote your name, and we even called you, and we thanked you. But the cumulative amount, $40,000. And it was like we threw a party. Because we said, yay, we got $200,000. Instead, what I should have said was, we didn't meet our goal. So we're rewarding something that actually didn't fulfill what was necessary. And that's not the first time. And so when you start to think about it, that sends a mixed message. Because what I love about the talent in this place is that regardless of what comes in, the show still somehow miraculously goes on. And it goes on beautifully. And the music is vibrant, and there's a health fair, and now there's a peace march, and there's all this kind of thing to continue to promote community. And however, we're not clear from the base down. It's like those straws. You remember I used the analogy of the crystal straw? We're kind of like a crystal straw. The truth of us is we're this crystal straw. That will never change. But sometimes in the straw, we get those big tapioca balls stuck in. And we're sucking on that thing, trying to get that tapioca ball, or we're trying to blow, and it's stuck in there. It doesn't change the nature of the straw. But what it does is it gets clogged. And so as we were discussing and talking about this as a board, we realized that we've got to stop kissing the mirror. And we've just got to communicate with you honestly and tell you what's going on. And so as we do that, the thing that you have to hear is this. And this is kind of how we wrapped things up. Nothing changes the inherent nature of who and what you are. Nothing takes away from the fact that you are a divine straw. How much more powerful would you be as an individual, would I be, would the community be, if we honored the entirety of the process instead of dancing around things, right? And just became really, really clear, really clear. Because here's what's happened. We were so clear as a community 3 years ago about wanting community, that look what happened. Just take that in for a moment. Just stop and take it in for a moment. For those of you who might be visiting, we never had our own building before. We never had programming the way we had programming before. And so that tells us how powerful we are. It tells us the capability of what can be possible. But now in order to sustain that community, a certain level needs to be acquired in order to make that happen. And the thing is that if it's not, that's okay. We talk about the fact that we've had a 35-year history. And we came to the realization that that 35-year history, you ready, has to die. In other words, because all things must die in order for the new things to be born and rebirthed into what is awaiting. That's the whole crux of crucifixion and resurrection. And don't you just wish you could just have perpetual resurrection all the time? That's living from here up, right? But what we understand is that things die. Traditions die. People die, situations die, dreams sometimes even die. And it's not that they die per se and then they're completely gone. It's that they've been transfigured into something different. That's why you and I can walk through the valley of the shadow of death and to know this is not my final destination. This is why you can be in the tunnel and know that the light is not at the end of the tunnel. The light is exactly where you and I are in the tunnel. That's why you can have your earth-based stuff. I can have my earth-based stuff. But this fact isn't the truth of me. I hope you're following this. That you are perpetual truth. And the thing that makes your truth, my truth, so rich is that we become fully integrated so that we can be in the world but not of it. And so what dawned on me at the end yesterday was the fact that we talked about God. What is God? And to me, God really is peace, peace of mind. When was the last time you had 100% peace of mind? When you were in such complete poise, such complete equanimity, that you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that life in all of its vibrancy, in all of its chaos, in all of its transmutation was perfect. So to me, God is that. God is that peace of mind. And what we established and knew about peace then was that peace just is. You and I don't go and find peace. You and I don't actually make peace happen. You and I become the open channel and the vessel for peace to be able to flow in. And so what we know is this, that if this as a community, if this goes on, and if it doesn't go on, what's the constant? Peace. Because that's the beauty of life. Life is self-regulating. Think about the last big chaotic thing in your life. Think about the last do-or-die situation that you were involved in. And you're still here, so you didn't die. So there must have been some doing. And in the process of that, of that chaos, there is self-regulation. There is advancement. There is growth. And so what is taking place then is an invitation for you to decide. It's that simple. It's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's just a decision. But what's so powerful about it is it is a community decision. And so I was going to tell you a little bit about facts and numbers, but I'm going to actually let you hear that from a different voice. First, I'm going to call up Lori Palco, and then I'm going to call up Karen. Lori operated as an advisor with us over the weekend, and she's coming on the board. And so I joked. I said, so Lori's going to play the role of our lower-based chakras. And then Karen's going to... No.
I'm going to do all of it.
Okay, good. Lori Palco.
Thanks. Thanks, David. It was an honor to be part of the leadership of SLCA this weekend and to play a small role in that. And, you know, as David said, we were together for 30 hours in a room talking about all these issues, and we can't keep you here for 30 hours. But what I'd like to just briefly do is talk to you a little bit about the process, because the board as an entity had to deal with all the things that we deal with every day. They had to deal with the fear of the facts. They had to deal with their own judgment about their role in those facts. They had to deal with any blame that may be going on around those facts. And they had to let go of ego and attachment of how those facts could change. So for 30 hours, there were discussions around all of those facts. And what came through at the end was what David said, is that the leadership decided to respond from a place of love that rather than react from fear. And that's why truth and a different lipstick and mirror is going to be shared with you. And instead of and judging, they wanted to include the community as part of this solution. And instead of being attached to how, they said, let's embrace ambiguity and change. And let's involve everyone in the solution. So some of you may be sitting here a little uneasy right now with what you've heard to this point and what Karen is going to share with you. But just as I said, we went through that 30-hour process to get integrated and to know a higher truth for SLCA as leadership. And I ask each of you to know a higher truth for you individually and for SLCA as a whole. Okay, Karen?
Good morning. I'm Karen Ratz, and I gratefully serve as the treasurer to the board. And it is pretty powerful when David locks you in a room. And we changed this weekend. Perhaps you can feel that. There's two numbers that I want to share with you, because we are being very open and transparent about this. Here's the two numbers. The 160,000 that David mentioned, we need to raise that to 160,000. We don't care how it happens, but because we do not have that $160,000, we can't yet apply for a bond. So that $160,000 goes to catch up the mortgage, apply for the bond, and put some savings in the bank. That's one number, 160,000. And where I'm headed with this is I'm going to ask you to treat with me on these two specific things. So the second thing is the number 80,000. What we have chosen as a minister, as an executive director, and as a board is to provide programming and a building and services and music to the tune of $80,000 a month. That's what we've chosen as leadership. What the community has said, most recently, is they will give to the tune of $60,000 a month. And of that 60, we only know about 20 of it a month regularly through pledging. So we guess and wait on the other 40. So we've chosen programming of $80,000 a month. The community is bringing and offering and knowing $60,000. So here's the thing. That will either align or it won't. And that's okay. The love that we have doesn't change. The truth that we are divine doesn't change. There is no threat here. There is nothing here but experience. And so what we've said is we're going to quit being afraid of that. We're going to quit shielding you from that. And whatever happens, happens. So we're going to do something very different this morning. I'm asking the ushers not to come forward with the plates. How does that feel? What we're going to do is we're going to treat this morning, and I'm going to ask you to treat with me now for SLCA specifically. And if you do so or during the week, that would be great as well. So if you would treat for what we know as Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, then Sayuda will sing, and then we can do grateful giving if you feel so inclined. But however you feel so moved, whether that's pledging, putting that pledge on paper, whether that's treating, we've released the how. So are you willing to pray with me for SLCA? Yes. All right. If you would, however you're comfortable and open to it, and if that means to close your eyes, however this feels best to you. I will say it in first person in the I, because the only consciousness I can treat is for my own. So I know this. I know with every fiber of my being that God, infinite source, spirit, is all there is. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, divine order is all there is. And then that means that Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta is a divine expression of God. I am a God being expressing in this world. I am expressing in this community. We are God expressing in the world in the form right now of SLCA. And what I know for sure about SLCA is this love, this unconditional love is the truth. There is no end to it. I also know that I love myself enough to fail. I love myself enough to succeed. I love myself enough to know there's not a difference. No matter what happens in the outside world, we are love. And SLCA has been that now and for 35 years. I officially declare the closing of the door, the closing of the chapter that was SLCA, and open a new chapter. And I am open to whatever that chapter looks like. As an infinite being with infinite abundance, I know that's the truth. I allow that to be the truth. I pray specifically for $160,000 or better for SLCA. I pray specifically that $80,000 a month shows up to support the programming that we have chosen for our mission and vision. I release how that happens, from whom, from where, knowing that it's from Source. And I am grateful. I am grateful for a place that has taught me unconditional love. And I feel at peace. So I release this into spiritual law, into divine order, into God, knowing that it's already so. And if you would say with me together, and so it is.